just a moment, but we do need to jump over to some breaking news right now. Prosecutors in New Mexico have just announced that actor Alec Baldwin is going to be charged with involuntary manslaughter for his role in the fatal shooting on the set of the movie Rust. Now, this all, you'll remember, happened back in October of 2021. A gun that Baldwin was holding discharged, killing cinematographer Halyna Hutchins, injuring the film's director at the same time. The film's armorer has also been charged, will also be charged with involuntary manslaughter. Let's get over to Josh Campbell, who's live inside the district attorney's office in Santa Fe, where this announcement has just come through. Josh, what more are you learning?
Yeah, Kate, significant news here. This is what we have been waiting on. The DA said that she would be making an announcement today in this case. Of course, this stemming from that October 2021 shooting here in Santa Fe on the set of the movie Rust. The significant news, as you mentioned, is actor Alec Baldwin will be charged, according to prosecutors, with involuntary manslaughter. A second individual, this was the person who was responsible for the weapons on the set and safety on the set, will similarly be charged. Now, interestingly, both of these people will be charged with 2 counts each. And what the prosecutor says is that one of those involuntary manslaughter charges includes underlying negligence, that there was some kind of negligence on the part of each of these people. The second charge requires more than negligence. And what she says, and it sounds, at least at this point, that they're throwing significant charges up, but it will be up to a jury, the DA says, to actually decide which definition best fits the circumstances of this case. So it's not just one charge. Both Alec Baldwin and Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, the armorer, they will both be charged with 2 counts of involuntary manslaughter. Now, a third individual, David Halls, who was the assistant director on the set. He at one point had allegedly handled that firearm that was used in that fatal shooting of cinematographer Halyna Hutchins. He has agreed, according to the district attorney's office, to plead to negligent use of a deadly weapon. And that's a misdemeanor, is what the DA had previously described to me. So he will sign a plea agreement if that hasn't already been executed, agreeing to plead to that. So 3 people now expected to be charged, or excuse me, 2 people expected to be charged, 1 person expected to plea. There were a host of other people who were involved in this, obviously, who came under scrutiny, that were involved in the props that were on the set, from the weapon itself to some of the bullets, the live ammunition that we saw. At least as of right now, those people have not been charged. Of course, we'll be speaking soon with the DA to get a better sense of whether this case is now over, as a sense of assessing and then moving to prosecution, or if other people might be in jeopardy. That's something that we will continue to watch. But again, the major news here, although these 3 individuals have claimed that they are innocent, they continue to say that they did nothing wrong. The district attorney's office now moving with charges in this case. Actor Alec Baldwin and the person who was responsible for the weapons on the set will be charged by the district attorney here in Santa Fe, Kate.
All right, Josh, thank you so much for that. We'll definitely be looking for your interview with that district attorney right after this has now been announced, when you wrap that up. Thank you very much. Joining me now for more on this is CNN legal analyst Elliot Williams. Prop master Dutch Merrick is here as well. He's a prop master for film and television for 25 years. And also with us is CNN entertainment reporter Chloe Milas. Elliot, let me start with you. Your reaction to what we've now learned, this statement from the district attorney that I'm looking at, the charges now filed against Alec, that will be filed against Alec Baldwin and the armorer.
Yeah, Kate, I'm not surprised at all by these charges, and particularly if you separate Alec Baldwin, the actor, from Alec Baldwin, the producer. It would have been hard to see him charged with a crime in his capacity as an actor here, but he's being charged in effect as somebody who was responsible for what happened on the set. And what this involuntary manslaughter charge comes down to is negligence. The law defines that as the duty of care that a reasonable person in a similar situation would have provided, right? And that requires comparing this situation to other movie sets. And what I think the prosecutors found here was that what happened was so unreasonable as to, and this is the right out of the statute, producing death in an unlawful manner without due caution and introspection. And so this wasn't just a simple accident that happened on a movie set, at least according to the prosecutor. Allegedly, what this was such a failure from the leadership on the movie set that led to an incredibly tragic death.
I mean, Dutch, you have been following this so closely. We've talked so many times when this happened, when the report came in from the police. What do you think of this news?
Well, it was inevitable that somebody gets charged, most certainly. I think it's important to remember. So I've been teaching a class based on this now. It's literally a teachable moment for the entire film industry, and I bring classrooms together of film professionals, and we break down the Rust incident based on the legal reports of the FBI and the Santa Fe District Attorney. And when I turn to the people in the workshop and I say, okay, now who's responsible? When we look at all these failing of events, this chain of events, who's responsible? Give me some names. Let's put them on the dry erase board. They don't come up with any less than 10 names. So this was a chain of events that happened long before a gun got in Alec Baldwin's hand and the round left the barrel. It started with the hiring practices. It started with the budgeting and the way they had scheduled the show and the way they were treating the crew. And then the seed that was planted that really was a fatal moment was when somebody provided live ammunition disguised as dummy rounds in a box to a film set, which I've talked to hundreds of people now, and nobody has any recollection ever in history of live rounds being sent mistakenly to a film set. So that seed germinated, and everybody's hands who that went through, the prop master, the armorer, and eventually the first AD who inserted himself in this process where he had no business being. Each one of those things cascaded in an event that any one of those things would have stopped this. So yeah, are these people negligent? Certainly, but I would offer that there are several more people up the food chain that are negligent from the very beginning.
And just a note, because this is a pretty lengthy statement I'm working through right now, but to the control room and all, if you see in here, if there is an answer to that question in this, and I don't see it yet, that has been the question that Dutch is raising, which is how did a live round end up on set and in that gun? I don't see if it's declared here in this information coming from the district attorney. But Chloe, just in general, have we gotten a statement yet in from Alec Baldwin or from Halyna Gutierrez?
No, we have not. But what's interesting is I sat down with Alec Baldwin in August, and he maintained that he had nothing to do, he had told me, with hiring the prop masters, with hiring the woman in charge of the weapons on set, Halyna Gutierrez Reed, which is also charged with 2 counts of involuntary manslaughter. And he said that when he was handed that gun on the set, it was declared cold, and that he did not pull the trigger, and that irregardless of pulling the trigger, there never should have been a live round on set to the guests you just had on point. But at the same time, though, Alec Baldwin saying from the beginning that, this was a tragic accident, and that, his attorney telling me over the summer that it would be a miscarriage of justice for him to be charged. But obviously we see that the tide's obviously not in Alec Baldwin's favor. Something, though, I do want to point out is that there is a settlement on the table between Alec Baldwin, Rust Production, and Halyna Hutchins' family, her widow, her son. And they were going to go back this spring and finish filming the movie so that the proceeds could go to the family. This was a moment where they all had come together. And now, in light of that, a question that I have is what happens to that? Obviously, they can't go back and film that movie now. Obviously, there won't be, that family settlement, what happens to that. And we do know from things that Alec Baldwin has told me and CNN is that he will fight this. He will fight charges. He will go to trial. And we are awaiting comments from him any moment.
Yeah, I mean, and we'll wait to see what his statement is. And this does, of course, kickstart a long legal process, Elliot, of course. And I did see in this statement from the district attorney, the special prosecutor who was brought on said this in the statement: if any one of these 3 people, Alec Baldwin, Halyna Gutierrez Reed, or David Halls, had done their job, Halyna Hutchins would be alive today. It is that simple. Elliot, what happens now?
So we get ready for trial. And just as, yes, it's Alec Baldwin and it's a common name and someone that many people like to watch on television and movies and so on. But as of right now, or soon, he will be a charged defendant with a crime. He will have a right to answer for the charges. And certainly, under the law, is entitled to a speedy trial just like everybody else. Now, look, one of the defendants here has already pled guilty to an offense. I would guess that and this is pure speculation, perhaps that individual's testimony might have helped support the other charges for the other individuals here, right? But either they get toward a plea agreement, or as you'd said, as Chloe had said a moment ago, he may fight this and take it all the way to trial. Now look, there's a huge disincentive to defendants in our system to going to trial because you're going to end up with a heavier sentence than you would have gotten had you pled guilty. So that's a consideration for Alec Baldwin and his lawyers to make. But some people, some defendants truly think they can kick it and beat it, and he may fight it to the end.
And Dutch, as I was kind of just speaking to it, it's been answered that there's no real detail in here about anything more that they uncovered in their investigation or in their interviews at the prosecutors, what led to these charges, especially this really big mystery all along, which has been how did a live round end up in the gun? And that has been, I would think that the way you've put it is kind of like the biggest burning question for you as well. It's not answered here. Will it get answered, do you think?
Well, I've pored over the FBI reports and the other police reports, and they did a very good job, a very thorough job of taking statements and really trying to break down the events of that day. And it turns out that there was a box with more than 25 live rounds on the set. It wasn't one round that happened on that that happened to be on that set. With 25 live rounds, it's incredibly bad odds that something bad is going to happen. They found these rounds scattered in different places on work carts. In the belt that Baldwin was wearing was a live round. Live rounds were scattered around the set, so it was only a matter of time before one of these got fired. And the fellow that sent them, I would say that it probably boils down to that. And you've also got, I think one of the biggest conflicts we have in the film industry is the role of the first assistant director. The producers have seen fit to make them the chief safety officer because they're on the set at all times. So that means that they're the person to say, let's make it safe, let's take the extra moment, let's take a beat to check the gun. But that first AD has another job, which is let's beat the clock. Let's make our day by the end of sundown. So you've got two conflicting roles in that role, but it's a matter. There's rounds everywhere on that set. It's a very dangerous opportunity.